Good evening. Now, here tonight we have Natalie, and you will notice that Natalie's face is pixelated because for reasons which we'll disclose in a minute. But let me tell you, I have got Natalie's resume here in front of me. She's a senior lecturer at a leading Australian university. Not only does she hold a doctorate in genetics, but also holds a master's degree in a scientific discipline and also a bachelor's degree in a scientific discipline. And she has done a truckload of research in subjects that I can't even pronounce. Um, so Natalie, your face is pixelated. Would you kindly tell members of the group why that is so?
Sure, Tim. Well, this whole thing has been incredibly challenging because I'm in this sort of no man's land. I'm a libertarian, and I found the idea of locking people up in their homes incredibly abhorrent and not conducive to health. I
Yeah,
mean, I'm a
absolutely.
health researcher.
Yeah,
The World Health Organization describe health as a state of complete physical, mental, and social
yeah,
well-being, and not just the absence of disease or infirmity. So I've been in shock as this whole thing unfolded, the fear and panic media,
absolutely.
what was going on, even now, locking cities down for one case.
Yep,
Um, but I saw how anyone who questioned the response was attacked and vilified
yeah,
personally and professionally, certainly in my field in health.
yep.
And I had my own unpleasant experience professionally over this. So, I really felt that it's best that I keep myself quiet at the moment.
Oh,
Um,
look, absolutely. And you're aware as a member of the group moderating team, and you take responsibility to make sure that things are scientifically correct. You also see the actual human impacts of lockdown. We've had to help out a number of people who've been in absolutely dire circumstances by referring them on to services. So that moves on to a next question. Obviously, look, you're a doctor and you specialize in genetics. Now, if you could explain to us in sort of layman's terms, how are vaccines actually linked to genetics?
Sure. Well, to be very brief, I suppose the immune system is really it's controlled by genetics. There's
Yeah,
two aspects to the immune system. We call them the general or innate, and there's the adaptive part. And the adaptive part of our immune system is controlled by genetics. So
yep,
when we have a vaccine, for example, or if we're first exposed to some sort of pathogen or
yeah,
something invading, this adaptive part of our immune system, because of our genetics, can actually adapt,
yeah,
change, and create these memory cells, which we call antibodies, so that
yeah,
when we're next exposed to this invader, we already have, our body is
yeah,
prepared for this invader at the second time. So that's really the basis of vaccines. There's also the fact that two of these three vaccines, the SARS-CoV-2 vaccines, are actually mRNA vaccines.
right.
So reasonably new technology. So I sort of understand that, and it's been quite alarming listening
If
to
you could slow down a
misunderstandings
little
about
bit
that.
so that we can
Yeah.
all catch up. MRA and what was the other term? If you could just explain that to us in sort of layman's terms, that would be awfully helpful.
Sure. Well, mRNA basically is messenger RNA. So our DNA is our recipe book for life.
Right.
So what happens is our genes are turned on to produce proteins in our body,
Yeah.
but it's not. So the DNA is actually written into messenger RNA, and that messenger RNA then leaves the nucleus, goes to the external, the cytoplasm of the cell, and
Yeah.
it's converted into a protein. So we have mRNAs in our body all the time, producing proteins in our body.
Right.
So an mRNA vaccine is basically that's what it's doing. It doesn't go into the nucleus of a cell. It
Right.
remains in the cytoplasm, and it's written, or our body writes it into a protein, and the protein here is the spike protein
Yeah.
for the coronavirus, basically.
So basically, look, my understanding is It's genetics, which is the science that leads to the development of vaccines. Would that be a fair reflection?
Absolutely, yes.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And look, I've got to say, Edward Jenner, I've always regarded him as one of my heroes. He was a country doctor, and basically he discovered the people who had caught a disease called cowpox didn't subsequently catch smallpox. Now, smallpox was an absolutely terrible disease, which would literally wipe out entire populations. And as I understand it, to test it, he actually infected himself with cowpox and then infected himself with smallpox and lived to tell the tale. And that's bravery, for God's sake. So that's why this guy, he put his money where his mouth was, and that's why he's my hero. So just to clarify, on this page, we are not anti-vaccine, and we believe them to be wonderful inventions. Would you endorse that view?
Absolutely, I would endorse that. I mean, smallpox is eradicated, polio is almost eradicated. And the other thing is we think about vaccines for infectious diseases, but actually vaccines have been developed for cancer. There are
Yeah,
already vaccines for cancer. So yes, a wonderful invention.
absolutely. And moving it on, look, sort of considering the ethics of the vaccine or whatever with respect to COVID. Now, I personally take the view that a responsible person, I don't want to pass the virus on and potentially hurt somebody vulnerable. So I feel like a little bit of a moral duty to do it, and particularly given the time in a something of a leadership position. I'm not sure how I ended up in that position, but I'm in that position. So as soon as vaccines are available, I will be there, and you'll see a photograph of me taking a shot in the arm with one. However, um, I cannot speak for the other members of the group. So, look, as an expert, what factors do you think people should be wise to consider about actually getting the proposed vaccine?
Sure. Well, I take a similar view to you, Tim. I will certainly be there as well, having the vaccine, because I think it's my duty to have the vaccine. I'm not particularly afraid of the vaccine. And we're already seeing in the UK and Israel that it's quite effective as,
Yeah,
75, if not more, reductions in hospitalizations and deaths. So
yeah,
it seems to be reducing the viral load, which is, so it's sort of working,
yeah,
in other words.
yeah,
But I understand as a libertarian, I understand this concern of coercion and
yeah,
medical freedom. So there's that as well.
yeah,
I just think I think really we need to think beyond ourselves and think about society as a whole, because I think what's going to happen with the vaccine is that it's going to change the response to the pandemic. Nothing else is.
nothing, absolutely.
Lockdown, yeah, economic damage, loss of livelihood, etc.
Yeah,
I do understand there are concerns about the vaccine itself because it's been produced in record time. It's
yeah,
been rolled out before long-term safety has been fully assessed, and it's new
right.
technology, of course. And there's some uncertainty about safety for people in certain groups because of the fact that the trials didn't include enough people in
Yeah,
those groups, like pregnant women, for example.
yeah, sure.
Eventually that will come out. We'll get more data,
Yeah,
and that will come out. But we also need to think that with all medical interventions, even painkillers, some people have
yeah,
adverse reactions.
yeah,
So we need to think about when we hear about these adverse reactions in the context of how many million people who have been
yeah,
vaccinated.
yeah,
Also, I think for those who are vaccine hesitant, because of what they've heard on the internet or heard from somebody else, really think about, where you got that information from, how credible are your sources, because
God, yes.
honestly, there is so much misinformation, which is sort of puts me in this weird no man's land because I find the lockdowns abhorrent, but I find the misinformation abhorrent as well.
God, yes, I
Um,
agree completely.
yeah, and it seems to be coming from people often with ulterior motives. So the ulterior
Yeah,
motives are hidden, but they're there. It's to making money or trying to
yeah,
their 15
yeah,
minutes of fame or whatever. And
yeah,
they really play on lack of understanding.
and
They play
fair.
on the needs of people, and they play on these sort of conspiracy
Yeah,
ideas.
God, yeah. Look,
And they tend, yeah,
yeah, I agree with you. It's I accept the libertarian argument, and people should have sovereignty over their bodies, etc., etc. Um, Absolutely, 100%. However, it's a matter of information, and some of the absolute garbage which has been
Yeah.
posted has been complete misinformation. The one that really upset me was, because you can't sue the drug companies because the government won't let you. And let me tell you, I've spent half my life negotiating government contracts, and all the time it's about allocation of risk. And what it means is, basically, the government has taken on the risks associated with it to reduce the costs for the manufacturers. It happens in defence all the time. Otherwise, the tax bill will be going through the roof. But again, that was a campaign of misinformation. So look, thank you so much this evening. And like I say, thank you for your services to the group as an
My,
expert so that we're operating. And I hope this will restore, because like I say, the group is now getting a lot more attention. We're interviewing high profile people, and and obviously, again, if you're anti-lockdown, you suddenly tarred as some kind of a conspiracy lunatic. When basically there are three central planks, which is we want a nice, nuanced, balanced view where lockdown compared to the economic and societal costs are fully measured, and but we believe in a more of a nuanced approach. So listen, thank you very much, Natalie, and thank you so much for your work going ahead. And we'd like to wish you all the best. Have a great night. Thank
thank
you so much.
thank you.